Hello everybody and welcome to AOR's Season 27 of the F1 game. We are round 6 in Hungary and joining me along for the ride is Retro Ghost. Thanks for coming, buddy. Nice to see you.
Thank you for having me once again. It was a great pleasure commentating over the Zandvoort race 2 races ago, but I'm back once again for the Hungarian Grand Prix. Hopefully going to get a good fight and bring some great commentary.
Absolutely, man. This track is renowned for being tight, twisty, very difficult for overtaking, but it tries to pack a punch though, doesn't it? It's got a double DRS zone, got some moderate straights, and some very, very tricky setup choices to make. So, depending on if you choose the one stop or the two stop, both are viable around here. We've seen it happen many a times in real life. And we're hoping that might mix up. Oh, and we have rain, which makes it even more dramatic. That might lengthen the pit stops, but it'll make the racing even more dramatic. We're going to get a little bit of information up. And my common trait for commentary is whoever jumps out first gets the commentator's eye. And Moxie has done his due diligence. He's read the Discord, and he's been alerted that he does have a qualifying ban for this event due to infringements in the last race.
I think I see a Ferrari leaving out first, which is Tash 22KA, the first track or car on track. As you said, buddy, say track position on this track is key. Say whether they do elect for a one stop or a two stop. Say whether the rain is going to stay or it's going to disappear later on during the session or during the race. Say cornering or speed. Say a track like Hungary, you want to find a perfect balance between the two.
I think, given the rain, though, I think anybody who's still hanging around in the pit stop, I think will opt for heavier downforce just to make it through the earlier laps, and then obviously have to put up with the compromise later on. Tash has found himself a nice big gap here, coming through the start of the second sector. He's not going to be wanting to get over those curbs as much as he is doing, would do in the dry. Now, thankfully, the Ferrari people paint their cars nice and red, nice and easy to spot on this track as we drive around with the forest in the centre in the Hungaroring. We're pushing quite hard on this out lap. He will be wanting to build up tyre temperature. He wants to be absolutely cooking as he starts this lap. It's a very, very short lap, usually, only about 1.25 minutes. But that might get pushed up to over 1 minute 20. With the rain. But here he goes. Straightens his car up nicely. DRS beginning to deploy. And it is a downhill braking into turn 1. Much, much tighter than it looks on the screen. You turn in, maybe drop it down into second gear. Immediately up to third in the rain. Try and get that traction. Hang it out, but not all the way to the curbing in the wet. Took it back to the right hand side. And once again, downhill braking. Elects to take a little bit of curb on the entry into turn 3. Turn 2 even. And hugs it nice and tight and throws the car as flat as he can, coming up to the approach into turn 4. Not too much throttle input in the early stages, which is probably about correct. You want to stay off that white inner curbing. It is not as deadly as it used to be in older games in the wet, in the dry. But in the wet, it might still be quite treacherous in there. Now we're just feathering the throttle through the S's here as he approaches the very fast turn 11. Almost flat in the dry. I imagine, yep, small lift and a dab of brakes as he flies through there. Mercedes moving out of the way.
There's a very nice use of the curbing from the Ferrari. They're keeping it in the white lines, but great use of the curbing on the exit of that turn. Couple of turns from turn 11 to turn 13.
Now you can lose a lot of time here. Now the line does come fast, but that doesn't mean you don't want to lose traction. Tash is going to start us off with a 1 minute 26 flat. With the Mercedes starting a little bit further back, but he is just on an out lap. So we're going to go to what I think is a Haas. A solid Ninja Saint. Didn't quite find him in time.
Solid Ninja Saint with a 125.4. Gulmarv set a 124.8. First car to break into the 124s for this evening's qualifying session.
We have another Aston Martin just coming through the final sector of Creamer, but he is invalid, goes across the line, does not manage to set that
His Aston
126.1.
Martin teammate does set a 125.7, currently sitting P4. Both the Hasses at the minute are in P2 and P3. Sim Rally Monster is able to 125.4. Solid Ninja Snake again nearly matches his teammate's time with a 125.4 as
And
well.
Max Duca comes through and pretty much matches his teammate. 2 tenths down from Super Jesse. Goes P7 for the time being.
Oh, did we miss something? Was there an incident with the McLaren, or was he serving a qualifying ban as well?
I'm not too sure. Oh, as we just catch Gabs really getting sideways coming towards the line. And despite that error, we know he's super fast. He's at a 125.5. I'm rounding up there, guys, before people in the comments come and get...
So don't cap locks us to death, please, all you keyboard warriors.
And that's Persegili initially set in. I think that's just him finishing an outlap. All right, Mulchain, who's trying to come past the Haas in the middle sector. Gets turned in nicely. Doesn't invalidate on the outside. It's easily done if you're trying to carry too much speed. Now just tiptoe around these corners, but power in between. As Cremo updates his time, goes P2.
Just picked up Mulchan, heading towards the finish line, setting a 125.1, taking a provisional P3 at the moment. Great lap from him.
But we're going to pick up the joint championship leader. Oh, Persegili has invalidated his lap. So Persegili currently sat second in the championship, but joint on points with Moxie, who's serving qualifying ban today. He's going to need to maximise this, really pull out ahead where he can.
So we just had Phoenix cross the line with a P13 with a 126.7. AVT Pasty still sat in the pit. Ooh,
we have Tash
Ferrari
coming around the final corner. Looking very, very committed. Get it nice and tidy. Is this an improvement? Yes, he does. He goes P3. The Ferrari is dominating the podium spots for the moment.
Yeah, so I'm just going to interrupt you there. So Gabs did take provisional pole with a 124.7. Pedro retired from track. Is that a retirement in the pits, I believe? It is indeed.
This is Creamer coming in. Is that Alfa Romeo? Round in the final corner it is, but he's well down on his time. We're catching Persegili going round the track again. The man who's taken a series of fastest laps and wins so far this season goes purple in the middle sector. However, as he is currently sat outside the top 10, that could mean anything. Thank you, Codemasters. As he hops. Oh, he's getting a little bit sideways on the exit of the tight chicane.
A bit of traffic through sector 2. Hopefully it's not going to impede him too much.
And he just gets away with track limits there. I'd love to see that back on the replay. As he's using the absolute limits of the track here. Risking it over the curbs, but he knows he needs the time here. People really are turning up today. He's going to have a lot of traffic coming into this final corner, but he's going to hope those ones...
Slip.
He's going to get a little bit of slipstream towards the line and does a 124.4, puts himself pole.
That was a great lap from him.
We've got Basher Lightyear round in the final corner, taking a slightly wider entry. What can he do? Does not improve, 1.5 seconds down on his time. We have Mulshane, invalid. I imagine he's coming in. About the Haas. Sim Rally Monster, how are we doing? I think this is an in-lap as well. About halfway through the session.
We've just picked up Creamer, who's just gone out for an out-lap as well, so hopefully he might be able to take a fight to Persegili. Sitting in that provisional P1 with a 124.4 at the moment.
So as I've just picked up Matt Stuka, half a second up on his time, comes towards the line, goes P9. Matt Stuka, who's usually sitting a little bit higher up than that. We're hoping for better. And thank you guys for those who've already turned up for the stream. Comment, let us know who you think, who you're supporting.
Just picked up Rivershane coming around the final corner, spotting his point of entry. The corner does come around quite sharply, not to get the exit wrong, but he does improve his time quite significantly, moving himself into P8 with a 125.2.
And I've got Gulmarv coming into the final sector as a little four-wheel drift around turn 13, which is a wide entry, tight exit. Fighting the steering there as we get a great view of what he's having to deal with. Does lose out time. I think it just lost that in the final sector there, as we do have
Alfa Romeo. Alfa Romeo?
It was, yeah, of
Max Duca.
Max Duca, yeah. What are you looking like? Have we lost it? Have you got any damage, Max Duca? Or is he just very calmly getting out of the way? I'm going to wait for the broadcast shot. No, he all seems to be in one piece. Now, Jim Wong, a new name to the roster this evening. I believe he's just reserving. Gets very, very snaky. Coming around turn 3.
Fighting that Williams.
Just like the real Williams. Always a battle.
Oh, yes.
Now, would you question, is it Alex Albon or is he Logan Sargent? Looking like Albon for the moment.
We've got a yellow flag in sector 1, but I think that's just a car moving out of the way of cars on a hot lap.
So we're going to pick up Jim Wong's time in just a moment. See how he's doing on this lap. He's a little bit down, but that doesn't mean he can't pick something up in the remaining sectors. So we're going to stay on board. No pressure whatsoever if you're listening in.
Tash, who has just gone purple in sector 1 by nearly a tenth in sector 1, coming through the tricky chicane. Gets a very nice exit there, keeping it very planted, no slipping and sliding through the technical part of sector 2.
As Jim Wong does improve, he goes up a place. We're going to pick up Tash. Looking very good. Creamer.
State provisional pole, 124.2, fantastic. Tash is half a second nearly purple through sector 2.
It's not going to quite get him pole as it currently stands, but if he's gaining time everywhere, there's still time to be gained in this final sector. He's looking very, very controlled. Switches over, gets the turn in. Can he keep this nose exactly where he wants it?
Yes,
and through he goes. Goes P3, joins his teammates on the second row. We've got more Ferraris coming around. This is Gabs just starting a lap with a McLaren further back as well. Nice Tezic coming in.
Super Jesse's slightly improving his time there, but not quite enough. But say sitting next to his teammate in P11.
So a lot of drivers just begin to start their laps now. And this is an in lap from Solid Ninja Snake. Oh, as we watch flick to Gabs, who's doing a bit of rallycross out exiting turn 2.
Oh, as you just say that, I just flicked onto AVT Pasty then, the only driver left in the session to set a lap at all, and so just got all over the curbing, off the track, just past turn 3, so he does keep the car intact, but hopefully going to recompose himself and get a lap set for the start of the race.
He's just sat in his seat, trying to gradually make his way through all those Red Bull emails that are going around.
That's it. No messages, please. Don't text whilst drive, kids.
But we're going to stay on board with AVT Passage, just see where he puts himself amongst the pecking order. And then we're going to be going on pole watch for the last few minutes of this qualifying session. And looking, he's all out of VRS and he's into the pits. Maybe just a sighter before he goes out again. And Perskili is invalid, but I think that's just him pushing round. Oh, Perskili also going in. Do you have anybody who wants to give us any entertainment for the last few laps? We have a Haas a little bit further around. It's also invalid.
He's picked up Gabs, who I think might be going for a lap coming round Sector 1, heading towards the first ending part of Sector 1. The timing, is he going to improve on his time? He is improving, but it's not quite a purple.
Not quite sure what he's up to. He's got nothing really in the name of ERS to use. It's not particularly great angle to see how he's done that chicane, but we'll work through it. We have a yellow flag in Sector 1.
That was the... oh no, sorry, it's a different yellow flag, but there was a Mercedes just behind him that let, say, Gabs through and the Haas through behind him, but we do have Gabs who's still a 10th up, but not quite purple.
Goodness knows how he's not found more time. He went all 4 tyres off the track, but the game's let him keep it for now. Just the world's fastest in lap.
That's it, Ferrari strategy 101.
We've got Simran who wants to just starting a lap. Rivershan also starting a lap, I believe. Everybody's really leaving it to the last breath. So as we have
to Gulmarv, who's just coming to the start straight, taking P1 with a 1:24.0. Fantastic from him. Must have been very distracting. There was Phoenix in the Alpine into the wall on the last corner. As Gulmarv come round the corner, seeing an Alpine in the wall, that pretty much sums up their race from Bahrain Alpine. But we're in Hungary tonight.
Hungry for results. Mushlane coming through the middle sector. Mr. Smooth, as I like to call him.
Smooth operator.
Hey, don't get copyrighted, Retro.
Ooh.
Always, it looks like he's backed out of this one.
Trying to build himself a gap.
Creamer also on an outlap. So, how about we try? Where's Persegidi gone? Who's also on an outlap. This really is the last breath now. We're going to really struggle to start finding these. We're really pushing.
Ooh, not quite sure what's going on with Mulchin then.
As Sim Running Monster does take another effort at it, but does not improve.
So I think we've got Creamer trying to go for one last stab at it, coming through the end of Sector 1 into Sector 2. Is he going to be up on his time? No, he's down
well
on his
down.
time.
He's going to have to do something very, very spectacular to try and cover that off. We've got Gulmarv just coming in. I think that was quite a sensible thing for him to do, for him to push while the track was nice and quiet. I'm still on board with him to see if he is doing a double push. Maybe not advisable. He just lost the rear a fair bit there as AVT passed. He does retire from the session.
Creamer's unfortunately out of touch for pole. He's dropping time all over the place. I don't think he's going to have a stab at P1.
But Gulmarv is improving again. Just over 1/10 improvement. Trying to really gap himself to Persegidi, who is in the hunt. Not too great to exit there.
Persegidi coming through Sector 1. Is he going to improve on his time to take the fight to Creamer and Gulmarv?
As Gulmarv is still improving.
Persegidi is a 10th up through Sector 1.
It's not going to be enough. Not if Gulmarv even continues to improve.
Oh, there's a bit of a snap through the chicane. That's going to cost him.
As Rivershan puts himself ahead of Persegidi. What a surprise that is. Gulmarv goes to the line and is down on his time. Creamer's in the middle sector. Persegidi is in the final sector. He is 2/10 up on his time. It's still not quite enough. What more does Persegidi have? Throws it in to turn 13. Try and get the rotation. Exit in fourth gear. Powers then slow down ever so briefly. Hold it nice and tight. Powers to the line. What can Persegidi do? It's going to be tight. It's going to be tight. And he goes pole. Where has he found that time? 2/10 in the final sector. Creamer out of touch. Gabs is still out there with a 10th and a bit of improvement. But he's going to need to find another half a second if he wants to get anywhere up there. What can he do? He does improve up to P7. And Creamer does take P3 in the end. So yeah, some really, really surprising times popping up there. We're not quite sure where it was going to land. Persigili really looked like he might not have it in the bag there, but finds the time at the very, very end. So Persigili leads Gulmarv, the third man in the championship, followed by Creamer, who's fourth. Rivershan, his teammate, in P4. Tash doing a fantastic job to haul himself up to P5. Sim Rally Monster also showing gains. Gabs might be a little bit disappointed he's not maybe a couple of places up. Bachelite in P8. Mudslane just playing it safe in a P9, keeping himself in the battle. Solon just staying at P10. Max Duke at P11. Super Jesse P12. Tezik, Jim Wong, Phoenix down to P15. And then we have the retirees of J-Tray, AVT Pasty, Moxie, and Pedro rounding off the grid. Moxie disappointed to start from the back, but I assume with probably a few safety cars now, we'll probably come back into this race quite nicely.
Yeah, especially if the rain holds off or gets heavier.
So, as we now have a dry track. So yeah, any setups that were chosen specifically for the rain will be out the window now unless it rains later on. As we're just waiting for what setups can be changed. So tyre pressures, fuel load. Really, really important now. Tyre strategies will be thrown right out the window. As we wait to undertake 35 laps of the Hungaroring. Do you have any predictions, Retro? How far do we reckon Moxie's going to make it up?
I don't know, Moxie's performance, say, in Zandvoort, say, both the AlphaTauris were absolutely fantastic. And say, cheeky little sprint race to the finish line to take P1 and nearly again in the actual feature race. So my money's kind of on AlphaTauri, but Persigili and Creamer have got their work cut out for them to fend off Moxie so far behind at the bottom of the grid.
So there's a lot of cars in between, people with their own agendas. The damage is quite commonplace here, especially into turn 2, especially into the chicane, less so in the second and third sector. If you can survive the first sector, just hold station and wait for the DRS. I don't necessarily agree with the track layout here, the double DRS detection. I've never been a fan on any particular track, especially not here when it's quite very much long enough in the first instance to get the moves done. There should be a second detection point, even if it is within the DRS straight that it's caught in.
Yeah, you're definitely right there, buddy, but say we've got two... Oh, no, formation lap. I forget we use formation lap. Schoolboy error.
So we see a very, very big mix of tyres there. Half the grid lets for soft, the rest of the grid lets for mediums. With the two outliers of Simi Rally Monster and Tezik electing for the hard tyres. Can't help but think that maybe Tezik's made a wise choice, but Sim Rally Monster may not have. Here's a track which is quite hard on the tyres. A lot of fast corners, but you do lose a lot of performance running around on the hard, especially in the middle sector where those fast corners are.
I'd say there you had it. You did have the tyre strategy of the one stop and the two stop. So what to see what drivers are going to elect for, whether they're going to save time or lose time electing that extra pit stop.
One thing that was not noted on there was a hard tyre strategy, clearly not preferred or put forward by the game. As we have 1 light, 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights, and Away we go. Persegili does seem to get away well. Gulmar with his teammate at the back will be looking to push Persegili back. Does aim straight for him. Has the fend off. Creamer going to turn 1. The Mercedes of Rivershan looking to throw one down the inside on Creamer, going 3 wide in the first turn. But Gulmar tapping the inside of Persegili. Persegili having internet problems? No.
It's very clean from turn 1.
As we have some Ninja State around the outside, losing lots of positions.
No, we've got Max Duca all the way to the bottom of the grid. Not quite sure what happened there with a tap or a spin, but Max Duca unfortunately re-picking himself out of the grass.
We've got Super Jesse going across the grass as well. The Alfa Romeo's absolutely in disarray at the moment. Persegili does seem to have found himself a little bit of a gap, as we have Tash instigating a safety car.
And so we did have a little bit of Red Bull action side by side through the chicane there with a McLaren in the mix. Not quite sure whether we're going to see that in a Stewards room or whether it was fair game, but my camera angle thought otherwise.
Now question is, amongst all those driving, it's very hard to overtake on this track. How many of them may elect to jump into the pits, pick up a hard tyre and just go to the end? As we have one. Oh, it looked like Creamer was going in then. Damn these circuits where the racing line does go through the pit line.
I know, it's very tricky. It's teasing.
Oh, as we do have Simu Rally Monster into the pits. I think that's due to wing damage. He gets himself slowed down, doesn't need those tyres anymore. We're going to see what he elects to go on to. So he elects for the medium tyres, and as I mentioned,
and he is going for a wing change.
And back out he goes. So now we have an updated strategy of soft, soft, medium. So early position changes just after that first lap. We have Mulshane, Solid Ninja Snake, gaining 4 positions. Mr. Smooth sliding his way through the positions from P9. Solid Ninja Snake also snaking through. And then we have Tezik also picking up 5 places. The big winner so far this race is Tezik.
Got Gabs. Pasty has 5 places as well, moving up into P12.
Does that cost him anything in doing so? In the middle of the pack, it does still seem to be in one piece. About Tezik, is he only damaged for his troubles of getting it through? No, he's got through tax-free. Serenimons does just pull up to the back of the pack, and I suspect we'll get going at the end of the next lap. Now, as we are running on F1 23, we do not have 24 rules. It will be 2 laps before DRS gets enabled, unlike the new season where DRS is enabled after just 1 lap, which I think is a fantastic choice for the sport. What do you think, Retro?
How can I put this professionally? I agree with it because it keeps it closer together, but then it doesn't matter because I'm a Max fan, so Max is already out of a second by lap 1 anyway, so it's irrelevant.
Well, there's that. I mean, he's out of DRS most of the time anyway. It just needs a bit more impetus to burn up your tyres. I don't think it's so much about him having to defend the 1 second. It's more, how does he build that 1 second without using so much tyres in one lap?
Exactly that, yeah.
A lot of these guys will be able to think the same. A lot of them are sitting on hard tyres now. We're going to have a look on soft tyres that are very worn. So yeah, 2 laps already on these soft tyres. They will be extend a little bit, which will play into the one-stop strategy. However, I don't think clearly showing that people who had the hards, at least one of them pitted off of it. Super Jesse, I think, went tactical. I think he's going to the end now.
Will the hards do 30 laps?
Around here, I think so, because I said they're about, I'd say maybe 2.5 seconds a lap slower, but that means you are lifting and coasting around a lot of the corners, which will save tyre wear.
fair enough. So as we have it, the notification from the game say safety car is in this lap. All eyes on Perseguini for the restart.
So it's a tyre 1 here. You want to back them up into turn 12, into turn 13. Keep the back of the pack guessing as you come round turn 14. You could almost do a blind restart because there's a wall right there that unless you're right on the back of Perseguili, you have no idea. But it does look like he's speeding up now, and off he goes. Keeps everybody in the loop, but as I'm not guessing so much, Gulmov has kept with him.
So Perseguili nearly went into the wall then on that restart.
Cold tyres spinning him up. And Gulmov has stayed with him for now. One person we haven't necessarily been watching the progress of is Moxie, who's kept it nice and calm so far. Pedro fighting with JJ. JJ looking for the inside line, wants to be right ahead before he goes into turn 2, and he does. He tucks in nicely. What's Moxie up to? Playing it nice and calmly for now. He's tucked up behind Pedro. Turn 4 is not necessarily the corner you want to make a move on. And he's been very, very sensible so far this race. People choosing not to jump into another safety car. Keeping it very, very calm. Tight battles up the field though as we watch Creamer pulling up to the back of Gulmov, who has now been dropped by Perseguili. Perseguili maybe not with the strongest of restarts in respect to Gulmov, but in terms of overlap pace, he's done a great job to pull that gap out nice and early.
Well, we've got Gabs that has just made a move around Tezik. Tezik is now vulnerable to Jim Wong behind him.
It's Perseguili naturally setting the fastest lap of the race. Tezik does look... Oh, as we have... And that's Moxie! Moxie's been turned round in the final corner.
Ooh, that'd be interesting to see.
But he's up and going again. We're going to have a look, see what his wing looks like. As now we have Pedro round, but he's in one piece. Moxie is also in one piece.
Move on Tezik, great move from him.
Only a couple of moves happening in these early stages. Just people trying to remain very sensible. We've seen a lot of drivers just go off by their own error. I'm sure we'll hear about it afterwards, what happened to Moxie.
Your backlight here was all over the back of Solid Ninja Snake, but I think a little bit of slip there, so the gap's just dropped off slightly, but he was all over the back of the gearbox of that Haas.
Now Creamer once again showing that he does not want to be the last step of the podium. Gulmov seemingly pull him along with a bit of slipstream. Exit is key here. Creamer's chosen a wider entry and is going to re-pick up the slipstream. DRS now enabled, but they will not have it just yet. I'm not even sure if they will have it into the next DRS detection with the next DRS operation zone, which is here. No, the detection is in the last lap, so they will not get it until the following lap now. I don't know how they can say it's enabled that lap when they don't get it until the following lap.
I was just thinking the same thing. I was like, what?
So we're going to stay on board with Creamer. Maybe just biding his time. Does not want to take the position from Gulmov. Just to have him take it back off him with DRS when you can get such an advantage in that double DRS zone.
So I think I just about saw backlight take all four wheels off the tarmac, so I think you might have got a warning for that, trying to keep on the back of Solid Ninja Snake.
We're very much settling in now, but here we go. Creamer's entering the final sector now. And Perseguili very much has started to build this gap. It's big, and it's quite big, and it's building steadily. They can only just about make him out in the distance. But here comes Creamer. 3/10 is the gap. He's going to pick up slipstream. He's going to pick up DRS. It did not look like Gulmov had the best exit there. Creamer's on his way. He's got DRS. He flicks to the inside, and this is going to be relatively pedestrian. Pulls in ahead and turns in for turn 1. Oh, but as Gulmov gets a very aggressive turn in out of turn 1. Gulmov's going to hope to come back at him later on. I've just noticed that Gabs is super close. He's getting overtaken.
Ooh, going very deep.
Oh, yeah, by Bachelor Lightyear. So we have 6 laps now on the softs. Maybe going to be a little bit extended because of the safety car. I'd say maybe they've got another 4 or 5 laps in them. Bachelor Lightyear is not done. He wants Solid Ninja Snake, and he is closing very fast on him. Almost pushing Solid Ninja Snake along. He might even have to get him out of turn 11 here, you know, Retro.
He could do. So that Aston Martin is not hanging around.
This is soft versus mediums. Might be the last bit of performance that he has over the medium tyre before it goes away in a couple of laps. Yeah, the Aston Martin's really got the impetus now. Moves being made at the front and in the middle. Here he goes, DRS open. Solid Ninja Snake is the head of this train. Cream elects to go to the outside. Oh, and cuts off the Ferrari of Gabs. Looks to the outside. Can he hold it? Yes, he can. Does he get the drive? Yes, he does. And off he goes. Takes the inside line for turn 2.
Great
and pushes
from him.
Solid Ninja Snake back into Gabs. With Jin Wong not too far behind.
Well, I think I just missed AVT Pasty and J-Tray making a move on Tezik, I believe.
And J-Tray is ahead of Tezik. The McLarens, seemingly no team orders in that team. Zach Brown sweating beads.
That man does love a sweat.
The Mulsan finding himself in P5. Oh, P5 and wide. Doesn't seem to get any track limits there. Just hanging on to this podium pack. Biding his time. I think he's maybe recognised that Rivishan would only pass him back if he overtook him now. Rivishan, who does now have DRS on Gurmov. Gurmov is going to get knocked off the podium here. Here he goes down the inside. He's not fully alongside. He is now. Takes a deep dive in. Gurmov pushes back to the inside. But he's going to be on the outside for turn 2. Rivishan taking the advantage of the double DRS, which is why I'm not a fan of it. Not in respect to Rivishan, just in general.
Yeah, so we did just watch AVT Pasty make a great move on Phoenix down the start straight. That double DRS then helped AVT Pasty to pull away from him down into turn 2, which again I can agree is unfair.
Oh, as we watched the Ferrari cut the chicane. That was Gabs bounding over.
Ooh,
as he's just started to regain the car. No, I think he just slowed up, try and regain his car, but now he's going to be susceptible to AVT Pasty, who's been pushing through this grid. Gabs needs to warm those medium tyres up, the soft tyres up again. He's going to make them work. But Persegili really starting to lose time here. What was a gap of nearly 3 seconds, just dipping below 2 seconds there. Maybe with Rivishan being pulled along as well. I'm not quite sure what's going on with Moxie. He's just not catching this pack.
So Moxie is the first driver tonight to pick up a time penalty as well for track limits.
Rivishan not letting Creamer go. He's going to keep the pressure on the Aston Martin if he can, help his teammate out. As we've got Phoenix overtaking Tezik round turn 2. Tezik is still right on his gearbox. He's pulling another 3 cars along into turn 4. All cars trying to avoid track limits on the outside of turn 4. It's easily done when you're trying to carry speed. It's the closest battle on track at the moment. We've got a good 4 or 5 cars all in contention for P11. With AVT Pasty only about a second and a half up the road from them.
And so speaking of AVT Pasty, he is all over the back of this Ferrari. Hungry for that DRS for the start straight.
I'm just noted ahead as well. Jim Wong is going after Solid Interstate.
Gabs has dived into the pits, the first driver to pit on a live lap and not safety car.
So Jim Wong is coming, he's coming. Both with DRS, can't get it done now. Bachelor Lightyear is going to have to be watching his mirrors. He's 10 laps deep on the softs with a lot of medium runners up behind him. As the yellow flags further back, and that is Max Duca and the Ferrari of Tezik over the grass. There's a lot of movement going into the hairpin as well. Who's going to come out? Pedro wins out there ahead of Super Jesse and Rally Monster. And this has allowed Moxie to come back through. Maybe just running until a safety car. Which maybe is why he's trying to hold on to these soft tyres. Just yeah, that's just me thinking out loud. Maybe he's saving these softs so he can go a bit further.
So we do have, say, Jim Wong again, once again, all over the back of the Aston Martin.
This is a battle of years gone by. Williams versus Aston Martin towards the back of the grid. But they're further up here and they're fighting for the big stuff. Bachelor Lightyear isn't going to have much to defend himself. Jim Wong is coming. If he doesn't get this move done here, will he take a dive or will he follow him through? He follows him through for now, but he's going to get this DRS open again. He just needs good traction. The ideal line is on the inside. It's much easier to defend. Bachelor Lightyear goes defensive and does well. Covers
the Red Bull. Safety car.
AVT passed. He does reset.
That was a bit naughty.
He does reset. I'm not a steward in this league, so I'm unable to tell you from the rules if he was meant to have waited. He would have had a counter from the game for being stationary. But we did see him beached and then reset. I'll let the stewards do their job from that point on.
Yeah, lap 12. Past the reset to track.
As we suspect,
it's going to be absolute church bells for Moxie being so far back to get off those soft tyres. What do you think, Greg?
I mean, absolutely. I mean, everybody who's on soft tyres now is going to be wanting to get off them as we watch the pit lane go into overdrive. It's going to be particularly difficult for the Mercedes, who are going to have to double stack. Do they double stack? No, Rivershan has gone on to take the lead of the race. That's, well, he's on the medium tyres, but he's going to have to pit not far from now. I think maybe 20 laps he might get out of them. 20, 22 laps. And Jim Wong also electing to stay out. Medium tyre runners. A lot of movement in the pit lane. It's hard to keep up. What was Moxie elected to do? Yep, he's elected to come in as expected. Don't think he's going to make up too many positions here, if any. The penalty he has was able to be served in the pits. Comes out in P16 behind Max Duca.
We have Sim Rally Monster getting a few cheeky places as a few drivers were still stuck in the pit lane, and he was able to go full speed past down the start straight, so he does move up into P16 under safety car.
So Persegili does hold on to the net lead of this race. With a few drivers jumping onto the hard tyres of AVT Pasti, Max Duca, Pedro, Gabs and J-Tray and Solid Interstate, thinking that the mediums aren't going to last 22 laps to the end. I think that's the absolute maximum tyre life for these mediums, unless they think there's another soft stint in it. Now I do think the soft pace over the hard tyre is significant, but is it significant enough to make up in, say, 12 laps, which has been the turnover for these soft tyres?
I think it's all to play for. Say Hungary, and so you never know what corner's going to chew you up and spit you out and cause another safety car. Whether they're going to bank going on those mediums, hoping for another safety car towards later in the race.
So here we have it then. We have the changing of positions. Jim Wong and Rivershan gaining positions. Jim Wong ultimately, those 12 positions is what he's gained from staying out into the safety car. So read that with a pinch of salt. J-Tray, who I believe has pitted, up 8 positions, 2 P8. Very well done to him. Pedro, I think he's pitted outside of this safety car. But he's up in P11. He's gained 8 places from the back of the grid. It's all gains for now. Big loser so far, Simu Running Monster, down 10 positions. With an early incident, I believe it was. Along with Max Duke, who was also caught up with damage and an incident. So now we go back to the tyres. So yeah, pretty much everybody off the softs now. The only person still left with softs on is Tash, retired from the race. I do not believe
we might hear that incident in the steward's room later on.
Yeah, for those of you who are interested in all things stewarding, decisions, what have you, you can view the stewarding, the stewarding queries on the AOR website, whether they are yours or somebody else's. I personally find it a very entertaining read. The interpretation of a lot of the successful drivers out of Germany specifically, whether that be your Schumacher, your Vettel, your Rosberg, always like to find a strange interpretation of the rules.
Rules are made to be broken, but speaking of rules, AVT Passy has just dived into the pits again.
Oh, what's that about? It's going on to the mediums. Maybe he's listening to the stream. Wasn't he one of the guys on hard tyres?
He was. You are correct.
So maybe not yet. So I said 22 laps was probably about the cap for the medium tyre. Now he's just shortened that to probably 19 once the safety car gets going. I think he's listening.
That's it. Now, Passy, if you're listening, do a burnout or do a donut.
Blink if you're listening. But now I fully suspect that Rivershan is going to hold Jim Wong up here. And I suspect that Persegili's lead of this race will resume in short order.
Yeah, the safe car's got to be in soon enough. So AVT Passy's not making any massive groundwork to catch up to the pack, whether that's just trying to...
He will do in this final sector, especially with Rivershan. As always, he brings the cars to a very, very sharp stop. Yeah, I don't think AVT Passy is going to have any sort of difficulty catching up here. He's on the same straight as the cars now. Rivershan needs to watch his pace here. He does seem to be modulating his speed quite a lot. And he's brought the speed back down again. I'm surprised that there's a few complaints popping around about this restart. But here we go. As Jim Wong gets a fantastic restart on Rivershan. Looks to the outside. Rivershan goes defensive. And then Persegili on the fresher rubber. Looks to the outside but gets crowded out. Which allows Creamer up his inside. But Creamer's getting boxed in by Jim Wong. Persegili looks to that just for now is happy to slot in. Jim Wong goes wide. Persegili, no! As Jim Wong almost takes out Persegili, Jim Wong goes round. How has Persegili escaped that tap? As Gormov goes wide, that allows Mouchland through, super smooth. And then J-Tray around the outside as well, but Gormov is coming back, but has to accept the slower speed going into the chicane. J-Tray ahead. Persegili, I don't think it's going to take long to dispatch.
We've got back Lightyear all over the back of Gulmarv. Nearly had a little bit of touch wheels through turn, I think 10 or 11.
It's turn 11. Oh, as they Red Bull and Ferrari get dicey in the background as well. Back cuts.
Lightyear making a fantastic dive then.
But with Gabs trying to round the outside, he's going to get crowded out there. He's going to have to look for an exit. As we have Gulmarv heading into the pits. Something must have happened there. As further back we go, we have Super Jesse in a sandwich of the McLaren and the Alpine. But the Alpine of Phoenix around the outside is going to have a lot of work to do to get past Tezik as well. But he gets it done temporarily and he exits well. But there's still 3 wide. Phoenix is on the inside, but Tezik has found the speed around the outside. And off he goes. But it looks like Phoenix hasn't got the exit he quite wanted. And it looked like Super Jesse was going to take a move there into turn 4.
So Moxie is, joining this fight for P11.
Yeah, he's right in the mix of it though. He's going to keep his nose clean. He's had enough incidents to last him a whole race so far. Moxie's contention in the championship dangling by a very, very thin thread, but not going to stop him from being bold. He's touching his side, bangs wheels, backs out. Super Jesse goes wide but rejoins, fights it all the way into turn 13. Moxie still got it around the outside. It gets pushed onto the curb, almost into the pit lane. Gets pushed along by Max Duca. Alfa Romeos seem to be the bane of Moxie's life at the moment. DRS is enabled, but they're not going to get it this lap. Further forward, we've got Solid Ninja Snake battling with Rivershan. Rivershan getting all sorts of out of shape, which then invites Mulshan through. Mulshan around the outside, coming into turn 2. Who dares to break the latest? Rivershan does, pushes him out wide, affects his line. J-Tray pulls into the outside, moves to turn 3. Oh, and then Bachelightyear gets crowded out. Fantastic racing on lap 18, halfway through this race. And Mulshan back through into P4. And Solid Ninja Snake finds himself on the hard tyres in a podium position.
That's a fantastic drive from him. So Persegili has already pulled out just over a second to Creamer already.
I think Creamer will accept this at this point. Creamer is relatively far back from him in the championship. He'll take what he can get, but I think P3 in the championship is quite happy where he is. As we have Moxie taking another position. Mr. David Goggins taking souls.
So you're going to go for another one down the start straight. DRS hasn't been enabled yet.
No, there it goes. What can Moxie do on Tezik? These are vital moves to make. We have a double movement. Further ahead, we have 3 wide into the first turn. We've got Rivershan trying to squeeze.
Moxie's been hit from behind by Phoenix. There's debris all over the track.
Moxie as we also
down the field.
We watch a Red Bull go backwards into the wall as well. Absolute carnage. We have a safety car. Crucially, does Moxie have any damage? We've got cars ahead of him that do. But Moxie seems relatively unscathed.
That was quite a big smash. And Moxie does seem to look all in one piece, not missing any end plates. But whether that rear wing did sustain any damage. Jim Wong has retired in the pits.
Gonna suspect he was in that battle. I suspect he must have also got hit from there, got rear wing damage, which is pretty terminal for these cars. Maybe one day Retro, maybe one day F1 will introduce rear wing replacements.
At what cost?
Probably an additional 10 seconds in pit stop. As Persegili elects to go into the pits.
Creamer also in the pits as well.
What was Creamer doing? Oh, almost goes into like
Nearly.
I suspect this is soft, medium, or soft tyres to the end now. Yeah, this will be to the end. But Creamer.
Back Lightyear stays out.
Oh, well, Where is Mox? Oh, Moxie has also elected to pit. Yeah, he wants... I don't know anything from Moxie's driving. It's all about staying on the fastest tyre. There's a few people like J-Tray leading the way. The soft tyres will be to the end. Maybe anticipating another late safety car. So pretty much everybody apart from the top three jumping into the pits there. Bachelatier, Tezik and AVT Pasti on worn mediums, probably not going to offer too much of a challenge to Persigili once we get on the restart going. And I fully expect it's going to get very dicey from P8 backwards. And we can now
especially
go
this late on as well with a safety car. Moxie does have his work cut out for him, being the only driver with a time penalty as well, just to add that into the mix.
Yeah, he's going to need to do something relatively spectacular. So, saying that Persigili's lost 3 positions, he hasn't. He is still the net leader. The top 3 drivers relatively out of position with their pit stops. But Moxie finally actually making inroads into this race. He does have that time penalty, but sitting on the right tyre in P10. With... Did you see him on the medium or the softs? Moxie on the softs. So wanted to make sure he gets these moves done on the drivers ahead. And hopefully a gap will emerge behind him. He has the pace to do it.
It's whether he can keep his head down and his car out of trouble to get the moves done.
Well, that's the thing. Hungary is probably not the ideal place to get a qualifying ban through accumulation of penalty points. Very, very difficult. The moves can be done, but to make a lot of them in the short amount of time he has to do it, mixed in between safety cars, it just runs a vast amount of risk.
Yeah. It's just like saying Monaco's a good overtaking track.
Well, that's the thing. Hungary is actually it's a moderately wide track, but the problem is when you have these high-speed sections, the actual reality of the racing line is what's very narrow. Not the actual track width, but the realistic racing line.
Yeah.
Sort of like Copse and Silverstone. It's a very wide corner in actual fact, but the racing line is only maybe a car and a half's width. Which is why you don't see many overtaking spots there, but we do now head back to virtual reality. We have safety car in this lap. Bachelatier on the most worn tyres on the grid with Tezik is going to try and lead this one away. He does have his teammate of Creamer a little bit further behind to think about. He could really do him a solid here. Now what Bachelatier needs to make sure he doesn't do is overtake the safety car, or he will get automatic disqualification. Safety car is in the pits. And he should be okay from now. And off he goes. Fantastic jump actually for the 2 guys on the old mediums. Tezik does look for one round the outside hose. Looked at these AVT Pasti.
AVT Pasti. Lovely little dive there.
Trying to keep his position from Persigili, but now Creamer has got himself around Persigili, but he might have to give this back. AVT Pasti really putting a cat amongst the pigeons. Oh, as the 2 leaders touch around turn 3. As Creamer does eventually concede the inside, gives that position back to Persigili. He's feeling racy. So we go back to Moxie, who's throwing all sorts of shapes at J-Tray. This is the very first car that he needs to clear. The only man ahead of him on the soft tyre.
Oh, it's the other Alfa Romeo and AlphaTauri having a bit of an issue through the chicane there.
As we have Gabs facing backwards at the chicane, but he's got going. We will continue with green flag racing as J-Tray gets past Mulshane. Mushin is dropping back. Oh, as we then get Mushin get slightly turned and then hits with his teammate. Oh my goodness. Oh, as we have 3 into the wall. Oh no. Oh no. All started with Mushin getting a little bit turned in an overtaking manoeuvre. And before he knows it, he's trying to recover the car. He's still on the track. And then 1 becomes 2, becomes 3, becomes 4. And the track just simply could not accommodate. Moxie did not quite get the moves done that he wanted to there. He's still in P8. Crucially, neither has Persegili though. Persegili and Cream are still maintaining P4 and P5. Now it will be a very, very strong effort to get Bachelor Lightyear, Tezik, and even AVT Pasti to the end here.
So it'd be an interesting strategy. Say the drivers that did elect to pit onto the softs from the last safety car, are they going to change again, or are they going to try stick it out and do a bit of tyre saving towards the end?
Now with Moxie being further up the grid, he's managed to keep his nose cleaner there, being further forward. Does he elect to get dropped back again just for the faster tyres? We're going to about to see a lot of anxious moves into the pits now, I think.
Yeah, that's it.
First one being these leading 2, Bachelor Lightyear and Tezik. I'd be highly surprised if they don't pit. They've got a free option to go back into position on a faster tyre to their normal competitors. But that's not how racing drivers think. They've got quite comfy in those leading positions.
That's it. Start getting giddy. Which
As
they don't.
They don't go in. As we flick
Pasti
down
stays
the
out
grid.
as well.
As pretty much every single driver, apart from Gab, so far has gone past the pit and not elected to go in. As Pedro's just had a bit of a... Oh, he was already out of the race. Yeah, nobody is elected to go in.
Yeah, I think unfortunately Pedro was just consumed in the carnage.
Yeah, I think that's quite a tricky one for the stewards to unpick. I believe it did start with a bit of a fair tap on Mush Lane. He had to regain the car, had to find a way around the corner, and then a lot of interested parties arrived on the scene. And yeah, when you're in those sort of situations, all I can ever advise as a former steward is just maintain your line. Doesn't matter how ridiculous it seems, just keep it straight. Don't act indifferent to the cars alongside you, and hopefully no one else blinks.
That's it, don't blink. Put your matchsticks in, don't blink.
You need to act like a weeping angel.
Yeah,
Steady, solid as a rock. Move fast like light. Doctor Who banter for you there. As we do get a very quick safety car in this lap. Bachelor Lightyear feeling confident about how he restarted last time around is going to get going again. I don't think Persegili is going to be as conservative this time around. He wants to be leading these safety car restarts. He has given AVT Pasti a little wide berth there. Trying to back Creamer up. As Bachelor Lightyear hasn't done a particularly good restart there. He's let everybody back onto him. Tezik comes for him. Follows the slipstream all the way down to the first corner. Pulls to the outside. As Moxie makes a position further back. But he's still got Tezik to his inside as Moxie gets slightly turned again.
Persegili gets a move done on Pasti, moving into P3. Tezik and Bachelor Lightyear fighting through the corners. Persegili just trying to hold back and let these guys fight it out.
As Creamer crucially gets through there as well. He does throw one down into turn 5. Holds it to the inside. Is this going to make him back off and push him back into Creamer? Oh, that bit of end plate there.
Lost an end plate, yeah.
He has. Oh, that's going to affect him through this section. Perseguili goes wide. Does this let Creamer through? Creamer's put himself in the equation. Perseguili really, really struggling. Which then invites AVT Pasti back into it with a yellow flag in sector 2, but the car is going. We're going to continue racing. AVT Pasti gets turned slightly. Creamer goes back through. Perseguili struggling to keep it tight to the corners. Is on the curb. Goes into the pits. He's not going to see that out for the rest of the race. This would be music to the ears of Moxie. But meanwhile, these guys stuck out here on the older medium tyres. Off they go. They've pulled a DRS gap to Creamer, who is now originally I'd have said net leader of the race, but these guys are going so well. Further back, J-Tray was getting looked at by Solid Ninja Snake for that P5 position. We've got Bachelor here really showing some impetus here. This is all about track position. These tyres are going to get to a point where they're not that able to fight, so they just need a gap. Yeah, people just starting to settle down now. Where has Moxie gone? Moxie? Oh, when does he end up back there? Oh, he has pitted. How strange. I don't believe he had any damage worth pitting for. Unless he is just covering Perseguili, who wasn't really his battle in the first place. Tezic goes back down the inside of Bachelor Lightyear onto the pit straight, but has he timed that well with DRS? He has now got a full Aston Martin team behind him. There goes one. Braking is going to be key here into the hairpin. Try and hold it nice and tight. Creamer has refound DRS detection, and he's going to try and go around the outside of Tezic into turn 2. Can Tezic hold it nice and tight? He does send Creamer a little bit out wide, but Creamer now gets the inside, turns in, and is ahead.
That's a great move from him.
Now Creamer is going to be screaming to Lawrence Stroll. Team orders, team orders. Move Lance out the way. He's just not going to send his teammate into infinity and beyond.
Ooh.
Oh, as Moxie has retired in the pit lane.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
So Creamer here with Perseguili down out of the points and Moxie out of the race. The man sat in P3 in the championship, or P4, is going to take huge strides towards the leading of this championship, bringing himself into being a contender. So he's really going to want this position off his teammate now. Yep, this looks fairly choreographed. And here we go. Creamer in the lead of the race on lap 28 of 35.
Be careful of the car coming out the pit lane of Moxie. Just stopped in the middle of the track. I know it's ghosted, but could be a huge distraction as we have Phoenix. Not quite sure what happened there. A bit of a moment, dropped a few places, but Perseguili taking the fastest lap with a 1:16.
Here comes J-Tray on AVT Pasti.
Oh, Phoenix picking up a 3-second penalty.
I've always said, when you put fast drivers out of position, incidents often come with it.
Yeah, so just to compare, Perseguili did set a fastest lap with a 1:16.3.
Oh, sorry, Retro, we've got AVT Pasti taking a dive down the inside of Tezic. This battle continues at the bottom of the podium, as we have Tezic almost going into the back of AVT Pasti, which then allows J-Tray through. In an area of the track that often doesn't see much overtaking. As we now have two wide coming out of the final corner, with Solid Ninja Snake also showing a lot of interest. But Rivershan, the lead Mercedes as it currently stands, now taking a dive down the inside of Tezic and makes it stick. Sorry, you were saying, Retro.
No, it's all good, mate. All good. So it's what the guys have come here to watch, the good fighting angles, but say Persegili at the moment, fastest lap by 2 seconds on them softs.
He's a man on a mission, but ultimately he needs to be on a mission because he is 8 seconds off the back of Phoenix.
If he can close that gap in 6 or 7 laps, then he's just damage limitation at the moment. As Creamer, he's just hopefully going to start running away with it to take a stab towards the top contenders. Max Duca looking for a move on Tezik, but doesn't quite get the move done. I think Tezik does shut the door on him.
So as it currently stands, Creamer is 32 points behind the lead of the championship. Obviously 25 points for the win will it will definitely jump him past Gulmarv.
Yeah,
puts
we've
him
got
in
Max
real
Duca
contention.
making a fantastic move under DRS into turn 1.
We've got AVT Pasty leading J-Tray out of the first corner, but J-Tray taking a big dive back down the inside, which then pushes Bachelet out, and that allowed J-Tray back through. So the soft tyres really starting to run through the mediums now. Some of the younger mediums like Solid
in the pits.
Yeah, really bad day for AlphaTauri.
So Persegili is out only 3 seconds behind Phoenix.
Rivershan really looking like he wants this position. Bachelet, he's shifting left and right. Needs to make sure that whilst he can move to try and take that position, he is also defending from Max Duca. That nose fitting underneath Aston Martin like a jigsaw puzzle. But he needs to get out from underneath it if he wants to put this puzzle together and get this move done. DRS now open and activated. DRS light flashing. He takes a big dive to the outside, but I don't think he's quite got the time to get around the outside. They touch front to rear axle. There's a little bit of a shake from Rivershan there, which then invites Max Duca up the back of him.
And so we did just miss a lovely little move from Solid Ninja State on the inside of Tezik into turn 1. But I have just seen Persegili has moved past Phoenix now.
And we now have Gabs. Oh! And we just had to watch Gabs go off the track in an attempt to keep it around the outside. A Simi Rally Monster then goes off track again. Potentially some time penalties. Teaching the edge for Gabs there. He may have something to say about Sim Rally Monster's giving of space there at the end of the race. Rivershan really doing well to keep these soft tyres competitive against the mediums around him. Oh,
as you say that, I think that was a little bit of contact from Rivershan to Bachelet, then that's why it just pushed him ever so slightly off track.
And then comes back and defends it strongly. But here comes DRS.
Oh, Rivershan on the final corner getting a really good slip on the rear end.
And that allowed Max Duca up alongside him. What should have been a move for Rivershan. Now success for Max Duca. Slots himself in between the Aston and the Mercedes. As Super Jesse overtakes Gabs, who's now entered the pits. Maybe a few fast lap attempts coming their way. And that does promote Persegili up into P10. He is now in a points paying position. Max Duca now jumping as P4 but off track. Is he going to be allowed to keep it? Is he going to have to hand that one back? He looks like he's keeping it for now. Not sure how much long left he's got on this timer, if he does have one. As Phoenix does pick up a time penalty. As we have multiple drivers going for there's Rivershan there going off track. Potentially these soft tyres not quite performing now. Persegili closing on Simi Rally Monster at rate of knots.
Yellow flag in sector
Max
3.
Duca turned around at the second to last corner. Doesn't seem to be damaged. He's up and going again. Simi Rally Monster will like the look of that. He's not quite made it into DRS for that corner, but he'll be very close on the next lap. There's Rivershan down. Oh, looks like around the outside of Bachelor Lightyear, the first corner. He's limping around with hardly any ERS.
Oh, Phoenix with a 5-second penalty speed in the pit lane.
Rivershan doing a fantastic job to hold on to these tyres. But he might pay the ultimate price relatively soon. Oh, it's Max Duca. Max Duca's out. But we're not going to get a safety car, not this late. That promotes Persegili and Super Jesse into the points. Last few laps of Hungary have got hungry.
Hey.
It's eating drivers up. But Creamer very much leading the way here. Picked his strategy perfectly. Bachelor Lightyear going off track. There might be an absolute flurry of penalties coming in the last few sectors of the next few laps. J-Tray eyeing up the second step of the podium. AVT Pasty. 13 lap softs versus 19 lap mediums. DRS enabled for J-Tray. Doesn't look like he's going to get on this straight, but if he lines it up well, which he does, but I think he's got a bit of a tyre deficit. DRS open again, but he's not really gaining. AVT Pasty looking like he's really driving the tyres now, very sensible. There's Persegili round the outside of Simi Rally Monster now up to P8. And I think that's all we're going to see from Persegili today. I think Solomon just thinks a bit too far out as we have Simi Rally Monster just piling it into the wall on the outside. And I think it was a bit of a mistake by Moxie retiring. I think positions are starting to just come towards people now. Oh, as we have Rivershan go round. Rivershan. He's just spun it. I think his tyres have gone. And that's another position for Persegili. So just casualties absolutely everywhere in the final few laps. We carry on at this rate, there's going to be points for everybody that finishes. Persegili looking super fast, but it's 2 seconds and a pass in one more lap. It's what he needs. And J-Tray still looking after this P2. Creamer's very much checked out now. His mediums will do more than good enough to take him to the line at pace. But the battle for the last two remaining steps on the podium are very hot at this time. Will any tyres just start to give out now? We're on the very end of what I consider to be the capability of the medium tyre. From Bachelor Lightyear behind, who is dropped back massively. He's got Tezik and Solomon chasing out, plus Persegili. But we are going to give Creamer his day in the sun, his first win for this division. He's had second place last, but he wanted a bit more. Here he goes, cross the line. P1 for Creamer, the cream of the crop. AVT Pasty
race from him.
As AVT Pasty with very good time management comes in P2, leading J-Tray. Fantastic result with Bachelor Lightyear, and then multiple cars coming to the line there. With Persegili just picking up P7. Great recovery drive from him after his problems. With Super Jesse rounding out P9. And we might have I don't think we'll have too much to shuffle now. Penalties. We have Gabs taking the last of the points paying positions, followed by Phoenix, who may have to give up the last place to Gulmarv once he crosses the line with the penalty. And yeah, there we go. Gulmarv taking P12 away from Phoenix. We're going to hang on for the final classification and the points changes. As I mentioned, this is a great result for Creamer with the disarray that happened amongst the leaders of the championship. Thank you for all those that took part for as long as you did. Hungary is a very, very tough track, especially when safety cars bunch the cars back up again. And thank you, Retro, for joining me on this wonderful evening.
You're very welcome. Thank you for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure. So we do try to keep all eyes on all the action. We say multiple safety cars do back up all the drivers, so we do have to have about 10 sets of eyes for all the action. But it's been an absolute pleasure.
Okay, so if you're new to the channel, do make sure to subscribe to AOR Racing. We run Formula 1, we run ACC, we run anything where you're driving a wheel around a racetrack online. So yeah, come and join us. Big Discord, got lots of followers, lots of help, lots of stuff you can get involved in. Yeah, link should be in the description. So leading the race, as mentioned, is Creamer from AVT Pasty, who surely has got to take driver of the day. 17 from P17 in the grid, ends up not too far off the lead of the race. And then we have J Trey, once again, fantastic drive. Then Bachelor Lightyear in P4, Tezik P5, Solid Ninja Snake P6, Percy Geely would have hoped for more, but in P7, Rivershan, Jesse, and Gabs round out the top 10. And there are your other finishers. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, everyone. I've been Greg the Wifafa. He's been Retro, and we'll see you all next week. Bye.
Take it easy, guys. See you next week.